Hi, Sagittarius. Welcome to your May 2019 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Well, Sag, some of you probably know that I am a Sun in Sagittarius too, as well as Mercury in Sagittarius. I take every opportunity to share that with the world because I am so proud to be a Sagittarian. I think I need to get a t-shirt that says that because I really feel that way. And I'm sure a lot of you do as well. So May, what is May going to be like? Well, we have our ruler, Jupiter, retrograde starting in April. Actually, as I record this, it just happened less than a week ago. And so we have this kind of internalizing with our own beliefs. I would say, especially because Sagittarians tend to be so positive, we may question some of our attitudes, the way that what would we call that? Philosophy, I guess, of life, or, even the things that we are putting faith in. And this is a good thing, even though sometimes it can be quite daunting because it almost feels like maybe sometimes that you're doubting your dreams, but you're really shaping your dreams ultimately. And retrogrades are a time that are less out in the world and more internal. But also at this time, when we have a Jupiter retrograde, in particular, there is this possibility of things coming to us that for some reason we weren't able to take advantage of earlier when Jupiter has been transiting Sagittarius. Since when? I guess since last November. So it's been, as I record this, about 6 months that Jupiter has been in Sag. So I would ask some of you fellow Saggies, do you feel as if you have benefited from Jupiter being in your sign? Or have you felt like things have not, been neutral, or has it been the last 6 months since November been more challenging? I'm sorry that I'm saying 6 months. I'm saying that because of my own recording time. Actually, for me, it would be more like 5 months, but some of you may be listening in May and it would be 6 months. So whatever, 5 or 6 months, how has it been for you? As for myself, I can't say that it has been up till this point that, I don't know if spectacular is a word. It hasn't seemed like my life has just exponentially gotten better. But my degree of Sagittarius is 22. So I'm in the last 10 degrees. And actually, this retrograde started at 24 degrees of Sag. So if you are in that vicinity, I think I'm right about that. It's not 20. Last year's, yeah, but that wasn't even in Sagittarius. I was thinking of last year when it was in Scorpio. I think it was at 23 degrees of Scorpio when it retrograded. And I think it was 24 degrees of Sag. But anyway, if you're on that degree, then maybe you have... so I got up to that degree, but it hasn't really lingered there that long. So I'm hoping that this will be a very interesting experience to see if things from the past that I didn't take advantage of, I can do at this time. May is going to be a time for Sag where there's a lot of practical energy. And I say this because the sun is in Taurus until the 21st. And Taurus for Sag is the 6th house. So the 6th house is a house of health. It's a house that Virgo rules in the universal chart. So think about the sign of Virgo. If you're familiar with what the energy of each sign is, then please check that out, or just kind of tune into that, because that's kind of what this is about. This is about us being like Virgos. We're making like Virgos. And that means that we are concerned about our health. We are concerned about our diet. We are concerned about exercise, health in general, all these topics. We may be focusing on that. But the 6th house is also your work life. And this can be also connected to your daily routine. And I remember like when other astrologers would say daily routine, it almost sounded weird and inconsequential. But in fact, it's very important. And I'll tell you why. If you're somebody who works for yourself, you know that the day can slip by very easily, especially if you're not a type A personality, or, you're just kind of very creative, spiritual. You kind of float around like I know this is weird. I was going to say like a butterfly on kava kava, which is that, I don't know where I got that one from. But the point is that we that are Sagittarians, we can be kind of ungrounded, I think, sometimes. And so the 6th house is a very grounding house. It's a very, the word grounding is kind of one of those hippy-dippy words. But basically what it means is that you feel that you have your root chakra, to me, is connected to your being. You probably have seen people, maybe you are one of those people who's very flighty, who's very spacey, and you forget things a lot. You may forget to eat. You may forget to do something important that is related to your functioning in life. And when that happens, it's hard to manifest. Manifestation is those first 3 chakras. It's not, it begins in the upper chakras and it goes down. Because the physical world is where we see the tangible results of things, right? So it's very important to understand that and not to shun the physical when you want to do things. And this happens so often. I read comments all the time, and I love to read comments. I'm not talking about my videos. I'm talking about other people's videos. I love to find out how other people think, because it fascinates me. And there are a lot of people in the spiritual community who kind of like have a very negative attitude towards money, towards success, ambition, all those things. And really it's because they see one version of it that's very toxic, and they don't understand that there can be a very quiet, compassionate version of it. And what Virgo, the sign Virgo represents, is all of those things. Virgo is very modest. So Virgo isn't the kind of person that is trying to do things with a like, look at me attitude. Aren't I great? Virgo is the humble servant. Okay. So it's about getting things done. Okay. Getting shit done to be able to realize your dreams. There are practical elements. You can't just dream big. I mean, that is a huge part of it, and Sages do that best, but you have to put in the elbow grease. And it's not going to be unpleasant if you like what you're doing. That is the whole key, is that you have to like what it is that you're working hard at. And so the 6th house, this emphasis is us working hard, working practically at our dreams, organizing our time so that it works for us, not against us. Understanding what is truly inspirational, like a lot of times we are very computer, internet based, and even when I didn't have internet at home, it was a big part of my life. I would go out to libraries, I'd go out to cafes, and I would still devote a large portion of my energy. But what was I devoting it on? Do we devote it to things that are really putting us in a better place. Yes, sometimes watching other people's videos is very important because it does feed our positivity, inspirational. It can be inspirational and instructional too. Don't forget that. But let's face it, a lot of us end up frittering away time on things that really don't serve us and actually can drag us down and can kind of hook us into other things. So it becomes like this endless chain. If you can read between the lines, I have experience in this. That's why I'm talking about it. So this is what the 6th house is. Like, how can I maximize my time without being this crazed, type A person who is just like harried and full of their ego, is not happy, is very, in need of proving something to somebody else rather than serving based on their talents. Okay. And there's a sense with Virgo of efficiency. I guess that's what I'm trying to really get to, that term, efficiency. Like making your life run like clockwork, but still have that spontaneity that Sagittarius really crave. We're not the kind of people who thrive on a timeline, but some kind of a general idea what you're going to do is certainly helpful. And I'm saying this as somebody who has a moon in Virgo. So you would think that I would just take to schedules like a duck to water. To a certain degree, I think, but we should create flexible schedules more than just ironclad, because we have a better chance of actually making that happen. So the sun is in that 6th house as the month begins. On the 4th, we have a new moon in that 6th house at 14 degrees of Taurus. New beginnings with your health regimen, with your, maybe you're starting a new job or working in a new division at your current place of employment. Maybe you're just like turning your schedule upside down, working a different shift or working from home. On the 6th, Mercury goes into Taurus, again in that 6th house. Mercury rules the 6th house in the sign of Virgo. So Mercury is associated with diets and all of the health-related things. This could be like your mind wanting information. So you may be researching particular diets or ways of being more efficient. There's a book I haven't read called The Morning Miracle. I think it's called that. I think that might be interesting to read. And so you might be reading books about how to be more efficient and how to, take what your time is, because some people do work a regular 9-to-5 job and they have schedules too. Maybe your schedule isn't really flexible from 9 to 5, but it is from maybe 4 to 8 before you're commuting. Maybe you could get up earlier. Maybe you could go to bed earlier. Maybe you don't have to watch TV when you get home from work. So many things to play around with. On the 15th, Venus goes into Taurus, that's 6th house. Lots of energy in that practical area. This means that for half of the month, Venus is in the 5th house of romance. So that is very nice. That can indicate some sort of new love coming in for people. Not that it's coming in, but that you are engaged in as the month begins, that you're already in that beginning stages of a relationship. In the 6th house, Venus is really good for maybe getting a pay raise, maybe having harmonious working conditions, perhaps, like if you did change into a different division, There's another name for division. I can't think of it, but in your company, if you changed back earlier in the month, you may feel this sense of harmony has taken over because you're not with a certain coworker. The 6th house can be your coworkers too. This could be finding love among coworkers. Or I guess a boss. The workplace in general, let's put it that way. On the 18th, full moon at 27 degrees of Scorpio. 12th house, baby. That's the house of addictions, of all kinds of things that trip you up, that hold you back. The house of undoing. So what is it that you need to let go of, Sag? And, it's really interesting for Sag that Scorpio is that 12th house because Scorpio, one of the rulers of Scorpio is Pluto, and Pluto's about purging. So that's really, the Scorpio full moon is in general a great time to really let go of those things that are holding a person back from their journey. Actually, because there's so much emphasis in the opposite house, the 6th house, it does suggest to me that this may be related to the way that you eat. Maybe the way that you live your life is not conducive to feeling as energized as you need to be. And that alone can affect your desire to accomplish certain things. And just your quality of life. So just pay attention to that time of the 18th because that could be a very pivotal time for you. On the 21st, the Sun and Mercury both go into Gemini, our opposite sign, and that's the 7th house of committed partnership. And this can be the focus shifting to a significant other. So Venus was in the 5th house, and now we have the Sun and Mercury in the 7th house. For people that are separated and maybe have been having some kind of, I don't want to even call it an extramarital affair, although it could be for some people, but maybe you just agreed that you're going to test the waters, and both parties, like a married couple, I think it's within legal bounds for them to be able to do that. If they have legally separated, they may decide that they want to be with one another, that they just needed that breather. Because Mercury in the 7th can be about communication, the channel of communication opening or reopening. The Sun there is a healing, positive, warm influence. So that's very good for long-term relationships. Okay, that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you would like a natal chart interpretation or looking at the trends that are coming for you in the coming year, especially some of these longer term trends, it's interesting to look at the natal chart and see how they've affected you, perhaps for several years or longer. And some of the shorter term experiences like the eclipses and stuff like that. Please check out my website. I'm at rainandmoonastrology.com and the link is below. Take care. Bye.